Tell Me More podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. My name is Olivia Molly Rogers, and I'm excited to get comfortable in the uncomfortable with you and remind you that nobody is perfect and everybody has something going on behind the scenes that you may not know about. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome back to Tell Me More. Today I'm joined by the vivacious Ellie Gonsalves. Ellie is a model, actress, media personality, and she has some amazing stories to share from her career in the industry, but we're not going to talk about that.
But
today I've got Ellie here to talk specifically about her decision not to have children. Last year, Ellie wrote a list of 118 reasons, or is it 117? It varies.
girl, it's like 2,000 reasons now after the public saw it, but it was 117.
It was 117, but the list keeps growing.
Yeah.
117 reasons why Ellie wants to remain child-free. And then once this list was shared on your social media, it went completely viral and received some support, but also a lot of backlash. So I would love to unpack that with you today.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's do it. Thank you for joining me. I'm so happy to have you here. Before we get right into it, I want you to tell me a bit about yourself. I would love for you to describe yourself to me.
I feel like it's so funny because we're sitting here, we've known each other for years.
I know.
I'm like giving you an intro on myself.
Yeah.
But no, I started modeling very young. That was how I sort of got my foot in the door with all of the things that I wanted to achieve. Moved to America when I was very young. I was 23. Had no representation here, had no representation there. Just a girl with some very big dreams, and made my life and my goals and dreams happen over there. I guess my biggest introduction to the world stage was the Super Bowl commercial. That really elevated me, and that really helped me make a name for myself.
Hold on, just rewind a little bit. So you were on a Super Bowl commercial, is what you said? Yeah. What year was that?
That was, that aired in 2017. And career-wise, at that point in my life, I was shooting guest campaigns. I was filming a movie with Dwayne Johnson in the UK in LA, and I was kind of all over the place, and my life was how I imagined it to be when I was in school. But I was also going through a very, very challenging time in my life at that moment. I'd actually just lost my dad very suddenly to suicide, and had this really weird juxtaposition of personal life was so challenging, and I was really, really going through it, but my career was going the most amazing it ever gone. And I think that was a really pivotal moment for me in terms of what was important and what really wasn't. And I just worked my ass off, and I wanted to be a good person. I wanted to achieve all of my goals and dreams that I wanted to achieve. So, and also nurture the relationships around me. That was also, since losing my dad, it was the most important thing to me. I was career is great, but if I don't have a good head on my shoulders, and if I don't have a good support network around me, then what's the point?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I achieved all of my goals and dreams in America, so much so that it honestly just shocked me, because I didn't have any support, and the only support that I ever really had was from my husband Ross, who we've been together for 15 years now, and we're just about to celebrate our first year anniversary on the 27th of March.
Very exciting.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I've always been a very hardworking person, and I think that all of my life experiences that have come from my 20s that were really, really hard helped shape me into this person that's just got so much experience and knowledge, and I know who I am, and I'm really, really lucky because of that. Amazing career opportunities, shitty life things that happened to me, but at the end of the day, I came out on top of all of that personal shit that I was going through. And it just taught me what I wanted and what my life was really going to be about.
I love that. I do definitely get the sense from you, more so than potentially anyone I've ever met, that you really know yourself. And I think that comes across when I met you, but also through all of your social media, the way you hold yourself, the way that you are so unafraid to voice your opinions and just back them. Like, no matter what you say or do, if people disagree with it, you're still like, well, whatever, that's what I think. And I think that's such an admirable thing and such a hard thing to do when people push back so much, particularly with what we're going to cover today. There's so much pushback. And when it's a subject that people feel so triggered and emotional about, it can be really hard to stand your ground. So you've done very well to do that.
Thank you.
You said that you're coming up to 1 year since your wedding. It was an amazing wedding.
Well, you were there.
I was there. I went, did my hair and makeup. I don't know why, because I ended up being pushed in the pool and it all.
Yeah, Marty, if you're watching this, that we were just talking about that.
Thanks for that.
But that was at least at the end of the night when we were all enjoying dancing in the pool and swimming in the pool.
Yes, it was a good time. But so you got married a year ago. I imagine, as it does, people get married and then people start questioning straight away. So when are you having kids?
No, we got these questions a long, long time ago. We've been together for 15 years. Like, these were questions we got 3 months in being together, and something that we have heard just probably more like than when are you getting married? Because obviously, like, we got married a year ago, and we've explained that whole situation as to people are like, oh, don't you know that, like, each other is the one or whatever? And it's like, well, actually, no, he was going to ask me to marry him when I was 25, but my dad died. Yeah. And then 6 months later, his dad got diagnosed with terminal cancer, as did another very, very close person to me. She had lung cancer, and given the same sort of length of time, survival time, I guess, I also cut my whole family off after my dad died. And there was like a good couple of years there where we just really focused on getting past all of that.
Yeah. And
we just didn't feel like, okay, like, it's time to celebrate us. Yeah, let's get married. Let's walk down the aisle. Like, my dad's not there. His dad's not there. I cut my family off. Like, it was just going to be tough, and we just weren't ready. We also really prioritized our careers. So we were like, we will get married when the time is right for us. And that's just, I think for me, my life has been all about living unconventionally.
Yeah.
Like, nothing that I have done in my life has been conventional. My career, my relationships, just the child-free thing, like, everything that I've done, not intentionally, but I have, like I said, I know who I am and I know what I want for myself, and I just do what I need to do to get there. It doesn't matter if it's conventional or unconventional. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's just very much been my life the whole way through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, when it comes down to us getting married, it was our choice. It was our time. Our wedding was a day that was about us. We didn't factor in what anybody else wanted. And it was over 2 days, private ceremony. No one had a problem with not being there. And if they did, see you later. And then we had our reception the next day, but it was all for us.
Yeah.
I think that people get so caught up in life and living life for other people that they get to a point in their life and they're like, fuck, like, I really, like, what am I doing? What have I done? Where am I? Who am I? Like, I just do everything to serve other people and make sure other people are comfortable with my choices. And in actual fact, it's your life. Like, you should be doing what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, when you are on your deathbed, you're sitting there and you have to ask yourself, did I do everything to make myself happy, or did I live for other people?
Yeah. She gets deep fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm honest.
I know. I love it.
I'm such an open book when it comes to my life. And like, I feel like we both have these platforms that offer us this opportunity to be that way. And I think having this conversation earlier, I think people get upset now. People, like, if I'm honest about something, people get upset about it because they're not used to honesty.
Mm-hmm.
People are they're not used to honesty anymore, and they're just used to being pandered to, and everybody like, oh, don't rock the boat. Like, but
yeah,
you know, I'm not doing anything intentionally to rock the boat. I'm just like doing what I want to do to make myself happy.
And the boat just rocks as
sometimes,
you go.
Sometimes the boat just rocks.
The boat is rocking. So you were getting asked before you got married when you were going to have kids. When was it that you and Ross had a discussion that you both realised, I don't think we want to have kids now and maybe ever?
I think everyone used to ask us, oh, early on, did you want kids? And I think it's just because we're told and sold something. And when you get to a certain point where I think that monumental life change that I had with like my dad and that loss really pulled everything into perspective about what I went through with my family, what Ross was going through with his family, which was also quite tumultuous as well at times. But I think it was after all of that we were like, what's appealing about it to us? Like, why would we be having a child? Why would we be starting a family? Are we happy? Like, we worked so hard for the peace and the happiness and stability that we have now after so many years. Do we really want to rock that boat and be like, oh, like, let's do this? Like, it could be a good idea, but we also don't know that it will be. Like, you know, we just don't care to change where we are for the unknown.
But you thought that you maybe did want kids and then you changed your mind, sort of?
I think I just thought it because it's like, everyone's like, that's what you do.
Or you hadn't really like...
Yeah, I hadn't really had that moment where I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh yeah, like I really want a kid because of this reason. I only said that when I was like a teenager or early 20s, is because like, that's just what you do. Because
that's what you do, yeah.
And what people expect.
Preparing for this conversation with you, I was thinking about that because you've given this list of all these reasons why you shouldn't, or why you don't want to. And I do wonder how many people actually sit down and think, like, I want kids. So like I'm in that sort of category, but I don't know how many people actually stop to think, what are the reasons? And I don't know if they'd sit down and write a list of reasons why they want kids. And I think if you were to ask people, they'd probably just say, oh, because that's what you do. Yeah. Rather than like, oh, because I really want X, Y, and Z. Like, I just don't think that people really analyze it that much. And I think that is part of the reason why your list triggers people. I am going to read some of the items from the list, but before I do, I'm only going to read 5. There's there's actually like a million. I said, can you send me the list? And the list has like 160 something, I think. Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to go through all of those because we will be here all day. But before I get into them, can you tell me generally, you said you don't want to sort of disturb what you and Ross have. What are some other like, what's a general explanation of why you chose not to have kids?
I think just to put it pretty simply, like, I just don't care to. Yeah. Either does he. Like, so the things that we've been through, and like I just don't want to bring a child into the world. It, like, firstly, didn't ask to be born.
Okay.
Like,
yeah. Glad you were though.
Oh, not me. I'm not saying I didn't ask.
As in the
I'm
child.
Jamaican. I didn't ask to be born.
You mean the child?
Yeah.
Doesn't ask to be born. Yeah. Okay.
Like, yeah, I just, there are so many reasons, and the list highlights a lot of like really funny, satirical reasons why, and there's also a lot of very serious ones in there as well, if people actually take the time to look through. But there are so many factors, and to be honest with you, we've both been through such a hard time. We just want to be happy, and we don't want to add any more stresses or pressure, outside stresses or pressure, because if we did have a kid, and this is so funny because people sit there and they're like, oh, I'm so glad that you're not having a kid. It would be so unloved, like blah, blah, blah. And that's truly not the case. Like it was a very, very mature decision after so much thought. It's not just like, oh, I'll change my mind. It was very, very like long conversations, like a lot of thought went into this. And if I did have a kid, like it would be my all, my everything. Like you see me with Daisy, for God's sake, like my dog. She's my whole world.
Yeah.
And if I had a kid, it would be my whole world. But I'm mature enough to know that I would put everything into that child. It would take away from my own happiness and my peace and I guess like mental well-being in life.
Yeah.
Because I would constantly stress about it, because I would always work, like I would live for that kid. And I'm not on this earth to live for another kid or somebody else. I'm here to live on this earth for me.
Yeah.
And my peace and my happiness. And that is not having a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that you have realized that and that you can say that. So some items from the list. First of all, they are your responsibility until the day you die. I think this one stood out a lot because I think people don't think about that.
Yeah. You can't send it back. You can't just like, let's give this a try. Like it is a literal lifelong commitment.
And people say until they're 18, like until they're an adult, but you're not an adult at 18. And, and it just doesn't happen.
And what people out there are listening that don't go to their parents for something when they're past 18. Like if I had a family, I would be still like, my God.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just life. Like you go to your parents for everything, no matter what happens, no matter what age. Who do you go to? You go to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's lifelong.
You are tired all the time.
Damn, girl, I don't know about you, but I'm already tired.
Daniel, who's sitting right here, has 2 little ones who he loves and adores, but are you tired all the time, Daniel?
Yes, and I agree with everything on your list.
See, the list is actually made up of things that like feedback that I've gotten from other people with children. Like
who are being honest.
They're the ones that are like, because I have this conversation with people and it's like taking away the fact that you obviously love the shit out of your kid, right? You couldn't love it more. Take that whole thing away. Would you do it again? I ask people that question. Like, would you do that again?
I think people would be really scared to answer that honestly, though.
No, but you'd be surprised how many people do answer it honestly.
In front of their kids?
Not when their kids are around. I'm not sitting with like their kid at the table being like, taking away that you love it. Like, would you do it again?
Nah.
But a lot of people do say no. I would say like the majority of people I ask say no.
That's so interesting. The next one is, and I think this is a really important point, you will fear leaving a relationship that no longer works because of the kids. I think this is so common.
Yeah.
And a situation I nearly ended up in. I think you sometimes think that having a baby, and you know, I can see in hindsight that it doesn't actually make sense, but you think that a baby's going to be like a Band-Aid or bring you together or mend something that's broken in the relationship. But my sister, who has 2 beautiful kids and a beautiful husband, she said that the tiniest issue that you have, it's like pouring gasoline on an open flame. Like instead of bringing you together, it's like little atomic bombs everywhere because it just exacerbates any issues.
It does.
And her husband's amazing and does so much, but she still gets so frustrated with him.
Yeah.
So I think people go into it thinking, yep, this kid is going to make us this like solid family unit, and it can have the opposite effect. But then you might stay with that person for the sake of the kids, when really it's probably more damaging to the kids to be in a tumultuous situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming from a family that I did have a very, very good childhood. Beautiful. A very close relationship with my dad. My mum, when I got older, definitely not so much. But seeing the way that they interacted showed me exactly what I didn't want. in life and in a marriage partnership. Like I was very, very clear that I didn't want that. And it does, it just makes all of like decisions in life to make yourself happy harder when there is children involved, and you only ever want the best for them. But I think staying with someone that there's no bridge to build there. There's no spark, there's no passion. And also you're not given a huge amount of time to work on that either, because life happens. Like when shit goes down shit creek, like life is still happening. It doesn't stop because your relationship's breaking down, because someone dies, like because your kids are running wild, like whatever it is. You have a decision in life to make yourself happy. And I think that you do fall to feel very guilty for decisions to make yourself happy when you do have children.
Yeah, because they come first.
Yeah. Rightly so, though.
Yeah.
Rightly so. If you do bring a child into the world, they should come first. But it's also that, like, you deserve to be happy as well. So, like, what's the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one was, similarly, if you get a divorce, you're joined to that person for the rest of your life through your children.
Yeah.
Did your parents split?
No.
The
day before my dad passed away, yes, they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that all would have been really hard.
Yeah.
My parents split up. And yeah, I mean, I saw that with my parents. Like, they didn't want to be in the same room, but for our sake, the three of us, they had to be on multiple occasions across the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And still to this day, there's not many times where they end up together, but it still happens. And, you know, we're all in our 30s now. So, yeah, I feel like that's a really good point too, that people maybe, like, you think about the here and now, you're not thinking.
Yeah, and I feel like the pressure that people have as well to have a child, even if, like, I've heard so many people being like, I want to have a baby, but like I don't think my partner's the right person. Like, do I just do it anyway because the clock's ticking? I'm 35. Like, I want to have a baby, and it's like, are you crazy? Like, why are you having a baby with someone that you don't really even like? Yeah. But you know, that's life. That's the pressure that gets put, especially on women, not so much men. Like, men can have babies until they're like dead, basically. Like, men can produce babies until they're basically dead. Women have a very small window where they're like, got to get their life together, their shit together, their career together, and they're like, okay, well, now I'm going to have a baby. And honestly, like, I know a lot of very successful entrepreneurial people who say that balance does not exist. You cannot have balance in your life. If you're focusing on one thing or two things, the other thing fails or the other thing falls short. And I think that that's this lie that we're constantly told, where if you can have balance, you can have it all, especially when you're a woman. I just don't think that's true.
Yeah, you're always going to feel like you're failing in some area. Like, you're not giving one thing enough time.
Yeah. And for me, my relationship with Ross comes first before anything else. He's my rock, my best friend, my soulmate, and like nothing else comes before that. So when I make decisions, I consider him first.
Yeah.
And I don't think that should ever change for me.
Fair enough. This last one is grim and a very real one. The existence of child predators and then potentially having contact with your child or content of your child.
Yeah. See, this is one thing that I've seen a lot more of in the last sort of 2 years, especially through TikTok. A lot of stories of people's kids, and social media was very different when you and I were growing up. Like, what did we have? Like MySpace and Facebook, and even still
Pixo,
like chat rooms.
Did you
and
have that?
Yeah, like everything. But it was a very different world. The access that pedophiles now have in people's lives is wild. schools, daycares, like in the child's bedroom through their phone and their computer. And now people have webcams, they have cameras on everything. Like the accessibility to people's kids are just so easy. And for a kid to just make an accident, how many times did you make an accident as a kid, like doing something, or people accidentally took nudes at school like 10, 15 years ago? It might have circulated around the school, but it didn't end up on the dark web. It didn't end up being sent through like chat rooms, or you know what I mean? So I think now that the younger and younger kids get, and the more accessibility they have to social media and technology, it's making things just so easy for them to be accessible to predators.
Yeah.
And what predators do with their content on social media and the dark web is horrifying. I've done so many deep dives into this because I have a niece and a nephew that I refuse to post on social media now after I saw that content on TikTok. Even just photos of their face that can be manipulated with AI on the dark web. And it terrifies me. It terrifies me for my niece and my nephew.
Yeah.
Let alone if I was to bring something into this world that, you know, if everyone else at school, their kids have social media and iPhones and computers and you leave them out, like you don't give them anything, it's like they're going to grow up with a complex and they're going to find a way to get on it either way.
Yeah.
They'll find a way. It doesn't matter. And then like your kid's doing stuff behind your back and you don't know what's going on. Like I understand why people have trackers on their kids, you know, like might not be ethical, but for safety reasons these days, like I totally get that. I would.
Yeah.
Put a track.
So,
I got to put them on my car keys. Like.
Does Daisy have one?
She does, yes.
Of course she does.
Yeah. I'm afraid someone's going to steal her. She's so cute.
I want to read some of your more sort of satirical ones. These seem to be the ones that piss people off. Just as simple as, you know, kids can be ungrateful, kids can be rude, kids can be wildly embarrassing.
Facts though. Where is the lie? With every single thing on this list, where is the lie?
Rapid pregnancy hair growth, they can poo inside you. Body swelling, face swelling. Body swelling can be accompanied with varicose veins that are extremely painful. You could tear.
Yep.
Where?
Everywhere. Everywhere, girl. They will cut you from front to back if you don't tear already.
The doctors will do anything to get your baby out safely, i.e. tear your vagina and potentially butthole. You wrote butty hole. I can't.
I don't know. There's just something about butthole that's not appealing to me. Like when I say butty hole, it's just funnier, you know?
Yeah, look, I disagree, but that's fine. Moving on. They then stitch it all up and send you on your way so you can sit in constant pain while you sit down every time or try and poo.
Yep.
The list goes on.
Yeah.
Now, you have received some horrendous responses to some of these items.
See, I actually genuinely think the responses are just really funny.
I mean, yeah, but they're also horrible, I think.
I feel like I'm desensitized. I'm like my reality, especially like because I was quite bullied at school. Girls sat behind me in class and like cut my hair in school. Yeah. I had horrendous bullying whole school life, leaving through social media. It's not real to me. Like you could literally tell me anything and I would not get upset because I know you don't know me. I know that you're unhinged because you're writing that stuff to a stranger on the internet. So it says more about you than it does me. And what you think about me is none of my damn business as well.
See, yeah, this is where we're different. I think it's amazing that you can sort of, it's like water off a duck's back for you. But you and I both put up one of those anonymous question boxes and you were like, oh my God, this is so fun. Best thing ever. Whereas I'm sitting there like shaking with anxiety. I was like, why did I do this? People are so mean.
I know, but like...
And you're like, oh my God, lol.
But it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Like it's literally, it is all them. It's all their own, whatever's going on in their brain and their life. Like you're just like a trigger. Like they're just sitting there like embarrassingly writing all of this stuff that's going to be on the internet forever. Like,
see, I know that and I can like acknowledge that, but then I can still be like, oh, why do you hate me? Anyway, it's not about me. Okay, I want to read some of your responses. This one's particularly horrible. An email. So they've gone out of their way to email you about your list.
Yeah.
Don't know who you are. Don't care. Your name is in the email. You are a nobody. I'm so glad you advertise on social media that you don't want kids. I thank God for not giving you children. I would dread to think how you would look after them, and you wouldn't. But at the end of the day, they would be taken away from you for being an unfit mother. So glad you posted this on social media. You will not be allowed to have children, each to their own. So why put this bullshit on social media? Who cares what you think? This person. Just another publicity stunt for you. So sad. Is this the best you can do? Maybe try and concentrate on world issues, poverty, etc. instead of your pathetic post giving 117 reasons why you don't want kids. In capital letters, who cares about you?
What do I look like? George W. Bush? Like, what am I sitting here doing? Like a political, like Instagram? Like, look at my Instagram. Read the room. We're not having like full-on political discussions. Like, it's light. It's funny. Like, it's, you know, that's who I am. If you don't like it, go away. Like, no one's like, I'm not strapping you to a chair and like waterboarding you, like with all of this information, forcing you to be there and consuming my content. If you don't like it, block me or say you're not interested on the post. It's that easy. Yeah. But when people go, I think to that point of like even finding an email address to contact is wild. Like, what are you, like, how are you still alive in life? Like, what are you doing? What's your reason for living when you just want to attack people you don't know? And it's so funny because people are like, we don't care. And I'm like, well, you're here commenting and giving your opinion. So you in fact do care very, very much. Otherwise you would have just scrolled past it. I think it just pisses people off that it does make them care and it does make them feel triggered. But I mean, the whole reason why it was even posted was because one of my gay friends was out and he was like, oh my God, texted me, felt clucky, saw a kid, reverted to your list and I don't want kids anymore. Ha ha ha. So I screenshot it, put it on my stories. And everyone's like, oh my God, what's the list? Yeah. You know, what's the list? We want to see it. Did a poll. So I was like, okay, you want to see it? I'll show it to you. I'm honest. I'm open.
The thing is though, you say that it's like fun and I don't know, fun and games and light and it is to a point. But I also think it is really important and it helps people to feel seen. I have friends who don't want kids. And like I said, I do. And so many of my close friends already have kids, are pregnant, you know, and it's in their near future plans. But those who don't, they're so terrified to even voice that with their family and their friends because of the feedback that comes with it.
Yeah.
Now you have, I mean, you can see from the comments what comes through. I also put up something on my Instagram asking people if they don't want kids, what are some of the reactions that they've had? And it's generally like 4 or 5 of the same things.
Yeah.
Which is one, you're really selfish.
Which is wild because people have kids for selfish reasons. Then we don't have kids for selfish reasons. Of course, like you don't have a kid, like you're sitting there, I want a kid because like I want to keep my name going or like, and also this isn't Game of Thrones. It's not 1500 BC. Like Jesus Christ, come on. Like there's no lineage here. Like you're not royalty. Like I just don't get that whole conversation. It's so weird. But people have kids for selfish reasons. So when we get called selfish for not having children, it's like, well, you do realize that you are actually having kids because you want to, and the reasons why you want to are selfish.
Yeah. I do think,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But
it is what it is.
When you say you want kids, I'm not going, why?
Yeah.
But
because you don't, you get questioned. Yeah. And I do think it's less selfish because you don't want kids and then having them and getting to a point where you're like, well, what do I do? And then you maybe resent them. You wouldn't neglect them, but like, you know, if you're resenting them, that's...
People do all the time.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing that this happens. People have kids because that's what they're told and sold. And then they're like, shit, this isn't for me. This is awful. This is horrible. I hate my life. And that's why there's so many kids in foster systems.
Yeah. The other one that comes up a lot is who will look after you when you're old and that you'll be lonely.
Somebody that I pay to, not someone that I guilt into. Like the amount of people, like people who work in nursing homes, for example, who actually reached out after I posted that on my stories and said that 99% of the old people in those nursing homes never get visited. And that's a fact.
That's awful.
Like, there's no such thing as unconditional love with a child either, by the way. If you want unconditional love, get a dog, because that's the only thing you will get unconditional love from in this life.
Yeah. But yeah, that one is one of the most common, and I have seen you posting that. You'll change your mind. People say that a lot.
Yeah.
Why are you focusing on your career? Is another one. So I think people think that once you get past a certain point in your career that you will change your mind. What do you think about that?
I think for some people it can be true. Like, if they're not ready for a kid now, because of where their career is, and they don't want to sacrifice their career and they just want to wait. But I think when people say that they don't want kids, like it's more thought out than people saying that they do, I believe.
Okay.
In my opinion, when someone says that they there's don't want kids right now and there's don't want kids.
Yeah.
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 And honestly, all the people that have reached out who said who haven't had children and stuck to their decision, they're like, I do not regret it for a second. My life is so peaceful. It's happy. I love my partner. They love me. We've got dogs. We've got cats, whatever. Like, they're very happy with their decision. They don't have regrets. But I think if you do the right things for the right reasons, you don't have regrets.
Someone said that a lot of people say that it will impact their relationships moving forward. And when they say that, I don't think they mean their relationship with their partner, more so, you know, you've got friends that will obviously have kids.
Yeah.
And family members who have kids.
Yeah.
Do you think that your decision will impact those relationships, or has it already?
Like within my life, with family and stuff?
And friends who have kids or want kids?
Well, not a lot of my friends have kids. My family's not in the picture. Ross's family's not in the picture, except for one of his brothers. And that's because we made that decision for ourselves and our own peace and happiness. And it was the best thing that we both ever did, cutting that toxicity off and out of our lives. So it doesn't really impact anything. And I feel like if it did to certain people, like you're just not my person.
Yeah.
I think if you're offended by that you want me to have kids for your selfish reasons, like I think that's actually really immature and very controlling and not very accepting of what someone wants to do with their life. Like, there is more to life than having children.
Yeah.
Truly. It's not the be all or end all. It's not like I don't believe in God. I don't think it's like God's gift for us to have children. I don't think it is our role as women to produce children. I don't think that's our job. I think that there's just so much more out there than that ideal way of living that we've just been conditioned through. Like the baby and the family industry is worth billions and billions of dollars. We get like this ideology of like, this is what life is thrown in our face because people make billions and billions of dollars from it. Just something to think about. We see this like highlight reel of people with kids on social media as well, because they monetize it. They make money from it. So you see all of these highlight reels of like, oh my God, like like when you see, you know, a picture of a pool with a family like laughing and playing in the sun, like people are trying to subtly sell you this life and this lifestyle to make money.
Yeah, and you don't get to see. I mean, I follow a lot of beautiful people who are parents, and they do share the nitty-gritty stuff alongside that, because it is so important to know that it's definitely not all fun and games and sunshine and rainbows and Daniel smiling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the thing. Like,
and kind of crying.
Yeah. Is that a tear? Coming down your face? Yeah, no, I actually appreciate when people are honest about it, because like that's how people make good life decisions, when they're well informed.
Yeah.
I think it's when people aren't well informed that's when shit hits the fan, you know, for a lot of people and a lot of kids that are caught in that situation.
Other than reading your list thoroughly, what advice would you give to someone who is thinking that they don't want kids? How would you sort of help them come to that decision?
Look, I think it's a very personal thing. I'm very lucky that my husband Ross is on the same page, but it's because we've had like life experience together that's brought us to that conclusion and that decision. Like I said, like there's a lot of really unhinged, like funny things on that list, but there's a lot of very serious ones. And I think those, it's not the like physical stuff. It's like that emotional stuff that led us to that decision in our lives. But I think that everyone just needs to remember that you're here to live life for you. And if something doesn't bring you happiness or makes you feel fulfilled, like if you don't get excited thinking about it, you don't have to do it. Yeah. You don't have to get married. You don't have to have a family if you don't want to. You could live till you're alone with 600 cats, like Taylor Swift if she didn't meet Travis. Like it really, life is just about making yourself happy. And sometimes people don't even find their person. But I think if you do, it's like you don't need to rush things. You really, really don't. And just get like that life experience and enjoy life. Get to a peaceful place in your life where you're happy. When I think a lot of people just rush into things. Yeah. And oh my God, like if Ross and I had rushed into things in my early 20s, I don't know where I would mentally be if I was like, for one, I don't think I would have ever moved to America and achieved the things that I did if I had a kid in my early 20s. There's no way. And then when my dad died, like I don't know how I would have gotten through such a traumatic time in my life, because we were very close, like very, very close. I don't know how I would have been able to handle getting myself to a really healthy point with my mental health with a kid on my hip attached to me 24/7. I just don't know. Like I would have done it, but it would have just been different. Like it would have been harder. I would have felt so much guilt that my kid is going through something that I'm also having to go through. Like I'm forcing that child to go through something that like it just should not be going through. If I die and my husband dies tomorrow in a car accident, there's no kid here, physically here, like being like, okay, well, who's taking care of me? Yeah. What do I do now? Like we've got Daisy, and honestly, like anyone would have Daisy, but you know what I mean? Like I would not ever want to leave the most important thing behind in my life like that. Or if something ever happened, like my husband and I have so much empathy, and I know to a lot of people that list, it doesn't come across that way because there are funny things. And like I'm humorous, like I'm a funny person. I make light of things a lot of the time. Like me and Ross joke about being in the No Dads Club. Like you can't be friends with us if you don't have a dad. A
little bit of dark humor gets you through.
I've got a lot of dark humor.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it honestly translates on one post on social media, and not that I'm thinking that it will or whatever, but there's just funny stuff and serious stuff, and like the situations in my life have just led me to be like a very conscious, empathetic person who thinks a bit differently about things, you know?
I want one more bit of advice from you for someone who is struggling to tell their friends and family that they don't want kids. So they're feeling pressure to just go ahead and have kids because they think they should and everyone's telling them that they should and society tells you that you should. What advice would you give to them about having those conversations?
If people disagree with you, just tell them to fuck off. And go, is it your uterus? Is it your life? Like, if you want a kid, go and adopt one. Like, don't try and like live this life through me again. You know, like it's because at the end of the day, you're the one with the kid. You're left with the kid when they come over and visit. And, oh, everything's amazing. Oh yeah, like we'll take the kid. Yeah, cool. But at the end of the day, like you're left with the kid. Like you're left with the thing that everybody else wanted and told you to have. And that shit's stressful. That shit will bleed you dry. Like money-wise, energy-wise, like it will test every boundary that you have in your relationship. Like you're left with that kid. That kid is your responsibility. It's not your parents. It's not all the people who tell you to have that kid. Like this is your life, your happiness. And if it doesn't make you happy, if it doesn't bring you joy, if it's not, and it's not saying that life is perfect all the time. My life's not perfect all the time. I have things that I have to deal with on very, very large scales that are possibly even bigger than problems with children. Like I get that. Like everyone's got different hard things in life, but it's honestly the biggest decision that you will ever make in your life that people make so lightly.
Yeah. It's good advice. Maybe they just have to get that little recording of you and then just play it to their family. And they don't need to have
if you're watching this and your family is showing you, fuck off from them. Politely, thank you. Leave them alone.
Thank you.
Because it's honestly so challenging when you're at a barbecue or you're cornered somewhere at a family event and someone's talking to you for 2 hours it's like you're being converted to a religion almost. Like people like try and convert you to having a baby and it's like, well, if you want one so bad, go and have one.
Yeah.
Go and have another one. Go and have 500. Adopt all the foster kids in the world for all I care. But it's not for me. So thank you and peace. Goodbye.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they're scared to be direct in those conversations.
Yeah.
And just don't be scared to be direct. Just be like, I don't want them because I don't want to. And I don't have to tell you all the reasons why. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care to have a child. That's what it is.
Amazing. Now I want to wrap this up with a little segment called Oranges and Lemons. I want you to start with your lemon of the day, something a little bit negative that's happened, and then finish with your orange of the day, so something positive that's happened. I don't think I gave you a heads up. I'm so sorry.
But I haven't had anything negative happen.
I love that.
See, this is the thing. Like, I think when I went through like shit in my life that gave me real world experience, the little things like don't bother me anymore. I don't care. Like it won't ruin my day that like I spill something on myself or, you know, like I crack my screen or like the little shit doesn't matter. I don't care about that stuff because like I've just gone through life stuff that is so much bigger than that and it puts everything into perspective, what matters and what doesn't. And like I think that like nothing negative happened today.
That's great.
But
I often don't have lemons. You don't have to have a lemon.
Yeah, you don't have to have a lemon.
What's your orange?
Plus, I like lemons. Lemons go great in vodka. Lemons go great with tequila. Lemons are useful, girl. Learn.
So any oranges?
Being here with you.
Oh.
Because I love you. And like, we're just sitting here having a little conversation about like, you know, like the only thing that I want screaming in my life is my blender making margaritas. The lemons are going in the blender that's screaming, girl. That's the only thing screaming.
Oh my God, write that down. I love that.
I'm going to turn that into a t-shirt. Let's make a poll. If people want t-shirts, we're going to put that on a t-shirt.
The only thing screaming in Ellie's life.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple of other things.
Yeah, a couple of other good things. That's a bit naughty for your podcast.
Yes, it is. I don't really have a lemon. It's like a half lemon. I made slice for everybody here at the studio / office, but I made it in a real hurry and just got shit everywhere, and then I didn't freeze it and let it set for long enough, so it, instead of being like a nice hard clean cut slice, it's like this smudge, but it will still taste good, so that's fine. Can't wait for you to try it.
People would sort of describe having kids sometimes, like it's not perfect, like it's messy, it's smudge. It's smudge in a lot of ways, in a lot of reasons. It's very
I made
smudgy.
you smudge, not slice. And you're welcome. And then my orange is that I've got 2 girlfriends flying in from Perth today for the Grand Prix this weekend, and it's going to be a great time.
Oh, fun. I'm excited.
Yeah. And obviously that
we'll be
here
going together.
Yeah. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting to me and for being so honest and open.
Of course.
Where can everyone find you and this list?
Okay, so my Instagram handle is Ellie, ELLIE _Gonsalves. I know that's a hard one, so I'm going to spell it GONSALVES.
We'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, my list is actually on my statics if you scroll a little bit down, because this was like end of last year, but
I think there's is there a highlight?
Oh yeah, there's a highlight. Yeah, there's highlights. People asking for the highlights, it's in the highlights.
You'll see more of the scandalous responses in those highlights.
And honestly, I still also post videos that add to the list of reasons why that people still send me in my DMs. I love it. Please keep sending them. I love it.
Oh,
it's very entertaining.
We're finishing with the siren. Seems fitting. Lock her up. Thank you for coming, my love.
Love you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Tell Me More. This show wouldn't be possible without you. If you'd like to show your support, please subscribe or follow the podcast on your favourite platforms, and don't forget you can watch full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.